and testosterone are almost a sort of yin and yang. So high cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and it's important to have some cortisol. Okay, cortisol is what helps wake us up in the morning. We do need it, so let's not get fixated on everything being bad.
No.
If you are constantly having high cortisol, which may be associated with other medical conditions as well, that is usually going to be associated with lower testosterone. It's almost, that kind of yin yang balance. And that's why it's important to look at the big picture. And we don't dig into cortisol here. The simple, quick reason why is, again, some of these blood biomarkers are very dependent on the time of day. And again, it's not always feasible to optimize for every single biomarker, and that's why we designed a panel of 22 biomarkers, which we as a clinical service feel is most appropriate for helping diagnose with low testosterone and symptoms with that and supporting those men. It's not everything under the sun, and again, in a conversation or consult, we would discuss other things and be very transparent about our limitations, but what other things would be useful, where that's appropriate to do in the NHS or with a GP for free, essentially. We can make recommendations, we can write letters, and I think that's again one of the important points to hit home.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so moving on, HDL. So I spoke earlier about possibly the misleading terms good and bad cholesterol. So we've got the high density lipoproteins, HDL, which is typically termed good cholesterol. Why? Because it is found that some of these cell types can actually absorb some of the fatty deposits that are found inside blood vessels. Okay, so it can help clear, a bit like a waste clearance system. Now, we obviously are interested in whether you have a high level or a lower level. Your level is somewhat on the higher side, which is considered to be a positive thing. Again, fiber and other kind of healthier sources of cholesterol may contribute to an optimal HDL level. We'll also see the HDL cholesterol, I think it's 2 down anyway. So we'll look at these two together. But then the next one down is hematocrit, very similar sounding to hemoglobin, at least in that first being hema, again, relating to the red cells. Now, hematocrit is a marker of blood stickiness, and we typically look for levels that are less than 0.52 liters per liter, as you can see in the smaller number on the screen. So if a hematocrit level is this level or more, it implies the blood may be more stickier, and that might mean that someone is more at risk or more prone to strokes or heart attacks, blood clots, that sort of thing. Now, why are we interested here? With testosterone and TRT, testosterone replacement levels, testosterone replacement therapy, if testosterone levels go too high, this testosterone drives the production of red blood cells, okay? But if we're having too many of these cells circulating in the bloodstream, that can lead to increased blood stickiness, which is not what we want. So we look to make sure that levels are consistently, on average, less than 0.52 liters per liter. Your level at 0.5 liter per liter is considered normal. And for context, obviously, you're not on TR or taking anything that would make us concerned. Now coming down, so we're looking at the HDL level. So spoke about this obviously just a little bit further up. So the good cholesterol. Now, your level on this particular result actually is showing slightly lower than it could be. Now, what does this say? So, and in the context of your total cholesterol being on average normal, is there something that could be done here? Is aspects of your diet something that could be sort of improved to try and consider mopping up, the bad negative aspects? Now, it's arguable or possible this is the case. I would not be too concerned in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we can all probably do more to eat better. And again, just like blood sugar levels and many of the things we've talked about, hormones and every level, these things can go up and down. So I expect a lot of fluctuation. We are concerned about HDL levels that are very, very low or that are very, very high. Any outlier is obviously possibly a cause for concern. And obviously, we're looking for a level that is, probably in your case and on average, maybe around 1 or above. Okay. And again, there are sources of kind of some whole foods, some nuts, some sources of fiber, oats, for example, that can contribute to these healthier HDL levels, which is deemed as one possible mechanism for helping kind of clear out, negative fats and things like that. Okay.
This is what with my clients, often just the word fat seems to have a negative meaning for a lot of people. And yet, obviously, extreme diets such as, keto diets where you can go to practically zero carbs, you'll never ever find, well, you should never find a diet that says zero fats, because fats are, like we've already discussed, so important for so many things in the body, even things like your skin, your hair, your teeth, your eyesight.
Even
So
in the brain, nerves and things like that. But yeah.
yeah, so a lot of time, like I say, it does have that negative things for people. It's like, oh, I've just got to stop. I've just got to cut fat back or cut fat out, and it's not a case of that. It's getting the right amounts, and these tests are brilliant for that. Even showing someone like myself, yeah, maybe I do need to eat a bit more avocado and oats and that. Even though, my protein shake, maybe I should be putting some oats into that because I have like a smoothie, but I focus more on the protein and maybe a little bit of fruit, but not so much on the healthy fats in that stage. So yeah, very, very
Yeah.
interesting marker.
Like I say, it's important to take the picture, in context over time, so longitudinal. So that's why repeated blood tests can be helpful, gives a biggest picture, because this is a snapshot, and this might not be at the time you did this blood test, might not have been the truest reflection of how you live and your
Yeah,
lifestyle across the year. Again, we spoke about, when you tend to avoid alcohol in the early part of the year, but then later in the year you might, maybe consume more alcohol and that. So we could expect shifts as well.
yeah,
And so it'd be very interesting to maybe, repeat this in 3, 6 months or beyond and see
yeah,
if it's the same or different.
yeah. I think that'd be another good video to make, wouldn't it? Yeah, where we can
Absolutely.
compare the two. Yeah, for sure.
So moving on, so LDL, low density lipoproteins, and there's also VLDL and IDL as well, very low and intermediary low density lipoproteins. Now, typically termed bad cholesterol, again, a bit of a misnomer. There is more to that than the picture because of kind of what is on these proteins. But again, unless a level is particularly high, that can obviously be a flag. So your level being 2.45, anything probably less than 3 is considered to be okay or normal. Again, obviously the lower it is, it's probably not a bad thing. But again, any extremes may be an outlier. So a level of 2.45 is considered respectable. It implies that you're not having too much what we term negative kind of sources of fat in food. And I think all things considered, you are probably having a reasonably balanced diet. Could aspects be shifted, like you say, a bit more kind of oats, fiber, avocado, things like that, possibly.
Yeah,
And it's something to explore and experiment with and see how things go over time.
absolutely. Yeah,
But yeah, typically high levels of LDL, high levels of triglycerides, that might be something that might trigger a GP or a doctor to consider medication, things like statins. Obviously, the first thing is always lifestyle, and with lifestyle, it's obviously what we put in our body, but it's also how we move our body, so how we expend it. Exercise is also very, very pivotal, not only strength based, but also cardiovascular exercise as well. That helps
yeah,
drive and use up various aspects, so fats and things like that around the body.
yeah,
And then moving down, we go on to sodium. Sodium is another key electrolyte. Again, very similar to the discussion right at the beginning on chloride. Important to take this in the context that we're looking for levels, but it's hard to really take this truly because of the fact that there's probably been a few days between the sample versus if we did this in a clinic and I ran it in a lab within an hour, I'm sure we would have got a very different reading. I'm almost certain your level would have been a bit higher. It would have been maybe 135, 136, 137. So 133 is on the lower side, and low levels of sodium sometimes is associated with a lot of water intake. So that's an important point here. I suspect in this case, it's again that degradation effect. And so we have to take this sample with a pinch of salt. So I think, things we'll do is obviously look how this trend goes over time. And it would be useful at some point in time if you ever get an NHS reading or you have a hospital reading, or we get a sample that's processed quickly, whether you actually get a radically different sodium level. And it must be important to stress that radical different, it depends on the biomarker. So with sodium, every single point is quite significant. So a level of 129, which might not seem that different to 133, is actually considerably more critical. These kind of patients would be kept in hospital. And if it goes lower and lower, 128, 127, I have seen patients who end up even on intensive care. It can be very, very dangerous, even potentially fatal.
Right.
And so, but the same sort of 1, 2, 3 digit move in other biomarkers we've seen earlier on the screen were negligible. So hemoglobin, your levels are maybe 167. If it was 164 or 154 or 144, we probably wouldn't be that excited about it. Okay, a difference of 10 or 20. So it's very context dependent. So again, this is
Yeah.
the importance of taking it, the whole picture, having that
Yeah.
kind of conversation, and really ensuring you're kind of getting good advice on the specific biomarker in question.
Yeah.
But yeah, not particularly worried about the sodium in the grand scheme of things here. Non-HDL cholesterol, okay, so HDL being the good, non being the less good. Again, if this is particularly high, this may be an area of concern. Level of 2.88, so sort of just above the middle here on this graph here, looking relatively reassuring. So I think in the context of diet and nutrition, I'm kind of reassured with what you say you are kind of eating, but also how you're moving your body. You're doing a lot of exercise, you're working out. And I think those are all positives. And I think you said no particular family health medical history that you're aware of as well, which is obviously a positive sign.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see where these markers go, because it's quite reassuring to see that the three markers that have been, they're all linked together,
Mm-hmm.
not really contradicting each other. They're sort of saying something. And again, I consider myself relatively fit and healthy for a 49-year-old, but it's good for me to see this and to see that I can look at and perhaps change, or yeah, absolutely. It's really, really interesting stuff.